Hi, I'm Novel Mike, and this is my opinion. So, BlizzCon was this last weekend. For those who don't know, BlizzCon is this big gaming convention run by Blizzard, the company who makes a bunch of different PC games and some console games. World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Hearthstone, Diablo, stuff like that. They make all these different games. They're generally massively popular. And so, because that, they have their own convention. And this convention, for me, normally is generally something I get really hyped about. They always start with this opening ceremony, and then they have all these other panels where they talk about all the different games and stuff they've announced and other things that they announce at those panels. And then you have all these different tournaments going on for the different games, and it's a lot of fun to watch, even if you don't buy Blizzard's incredibly expensive $40 virtual ticket to watch the thing. But one thing that is always interesting is that essentially their opening ceremony is very much a press conference in many ways. It plays out very similar to how you would see, an E3 press conference or Tokyo Game Show press conference, that kind of thing for Blizzard. And so there's a lot of hype involved going into these things. And so, of course, this year is the 25th anniversary of Diablo. And so Diablo fans in general have been very, very excited about BlizzCon, partially because Blizzard has teased several things in the last couple of months about BlizzCon and about Diablo, like they always do. And there's also been a lot of rumors surrounding that there'd be some kind of big Diablo announcement. It is the 25th anniversary and all, so possibly like Diablo 1 and 2 being remastered for PC with better graphics, new online sports, something like that would be cool. Or another expansion for Diablo 3, or even Diablo 4. There were several people out there within the gaming press that had some big expectations for this event, and they kind of botched it. And I don't. So to be clear, I don't think what they announced is the worst thing in the world, but the conversation since they announced it has been like it's the worst thing in the world. And the reason that it is like that is because the way that they announced it. Anyone who's ever watched an E3 press conference that you've really liked knows that it starts well and it ends well. And you need to know that if you end on something that people aren't expecting, that if you have a certain amount of hype on something and you don't deliver it, you are screwing yourselves over in the end, more so than you could in any other situation. Because essentially what happened with this is, with all these rumors about, an expansion, about a new game, about, remakes of the old games, like Diablo 2 is still one of the most popular games of all time for a reason, and people would love to, see that game remastered. So going into this, there's a lot of hype built around it. And so Blizzard waits until the very end to talk about Diablo. So at that point, you've had about an hour and 15 minutes of presentation of all these other things, and the people who only play Diablo, which there are quite a few, have been waiting to see what exactly is going to be said about Diablo. They're saving it for the end. They're saving it for a reason. And so then they talk about Diablo. And what they announce is an anniversary event for Diablo 3, which sounds good, at least that they made it sound good on stage, where they're saying you're going to be able to play Diablo 1 in Diablo 3, which sounds like they're remaking it in the Diablo 3 engine or something like that. Not really the case, though. What it actually is, which came out shortly after the fact, was that the Diablo 1 and Diablo 3 is essentially a 16-floor dungeon that has all the old bosses from the original Diablo games and has some other filters and stuff like that to make the game look older and whatnot, but it's still the Diablo 3 engine, and it's still playing like Diablo 3 with the Diablo 3 characters. And it's because of that that people are kind of annoyed, because, this isn't something that people want to see. Diablo 3 is the least liked Diablo game of the franchise for the most part. And while Blizzard has done a hell of a lot to walk back things since the original game came out, with just the real money auction house and all these changes that they've made to make the game more fun to play, and the Paragon system and all this other stuff, and then of course the expansion Reaper of Souls, and they've done a lot to try to make the game better, but for the most part, most people would agree it's still not anywhere near as good as Diablo 2 was. So seeing that is what they announced for the anniversary event, it was kind of disappointing. It's not a Diablo 1 and 2 remake, it's just more stuff for Diablo 3. And then the other thing got announced, which was that there is a new class coming to Diablo 3, the Necromancer. And of course, Necromancer's coming. That means that there's probably a big expansion, right? That's what's happening, right? oh no, that's all. It's just the new class. Okay, so at least it's free, right? Like, it's part of Reaper of Souls. Just like they said the anniversary event, all that stuff is free if you own Reaper of Souls. This is free. It's not free. It's gonna be paid DLC for a game that's multiple years old that people have been tired of the normal content already, especially for the expansion for quite a while now, and they want something new to do, either in this game or in a new one. And instead you're bringing paid DLC to the game, which is not what anyone wanted to hear at all. And that's how they ended the press conference. That's a problem. You can't end your press conference telling people after months and months of hype that what you've got is essentially paid DLC, no new content, essentially, no new game, no new expansion, and it completely screws over the narrative, because essentially if they had announced this in the beginning, the reaction wouldn't be nearly as bad, because it's like, okay, they came out, they got over with it, I didn't have to wait an hour and a half to hear that they basically didn't have anything I wanted to hear. No, instead you put it at the end and essentially made people wait an hour and a half to hear that you didn't have at all what they wanted to hear. And so because of that, people feel, like they're cheated in a way, because they've spent all this time thinking and watching all these cool things happen for these other games and thinking, man, if they've got all this cool stuff and they're talking about this now, what is going on with Diablo? And it builds hype extra high even during the press conference. So then when you don't deliver on that at the very end, you are screwing yourselves hardcore to pretty much everyone who's a Diablo fan at that moment. And yes, some people are sure okay with the stuff that's happening, but because it's presented in the way that it was, because you didn't come out and just say, okay, yeah, we don't really have that much, we know people were super excited, but this is all we've got right now, and just come out with that at the beginning and not waste people's time, when you have all that hype build up, especially over, an entire press conference, you have people that are going to lash out. And that is largely what I've seen online. People are not happy about this. They're saying the entire BlizzCon is awful because of it. And that's not what you want to start your freaking weekend begin with, Blizzard. And, Blizzard's not alone in doing stuff like this. Other companies have done this many times. Nintendo especially, which you would think they would have figured out by now. Nintendo has nailed the idea that you need a good start and a great end for every press conference that you do. They have nailed that time after time after time. And yet somehow, some way, they still screw it up generally at least twice a year in the Nintendo Directs. So, that's the thing that I think more of these companies need to take away, that essentially you need to understand that if you build up hype and you don't deliver, you are screwing them yourselves. So if you are not 100% sure that what you're going to announce is going to be received extremely well, like, I get that you can't make everyone happy, but your fan base is pretty predictable on what they're going to like and what they're not going to like. So if you come out with something that they are not going to like, or at the very least is not what they're expecting, it hurts a lot more than if you just come out and say it at the beginning, so they don't feel like they've wasted their time watching this, hour and a half press conference just to hear nothing. So that is my advice to all the companies out there. Don't waste our time. And I'm not even a big fan of Diablo, and I felt bad watching that because I knew watching it that this wasn't what people expected. I thought Diablo 3 expansion or Diablo 4 was a given. It is, again, the 25th anniversary. That is something Blizzard has made, note of time and time again. Even in the opening ceremony at the very beginning, they were talking about Diablo and its 25th anniversary, and they're so excited for their plans. And then paid DLC and more Diablo 1 and Diablo 3, which is not actually a remake. Not what people wanted. And I think that I understand why people react the way they do, but if you don't have something that's truly unique, don't make people think that you have more than you do. And I'm not just talking about beforehand, I'm talking about during the press conference. Get this kind of stuff out at the beginning or near the beginning, and don't wait until the end. There's nothing wrong with ending that BlizzCon press conference last night, starting with Diablo, going into Overwatch, having it continue like normal, and ending with Hearthstone. Hearthstone had an expansion announcement. It would at least make sense you ended on that. Not paid DLC for Diablo 3, which is not what anyone wants. Most people are just done with Diablo 3, and those that aren't really were hoping for something to really keep them entertained. And the Necromancer will probably make some people happy, but it's not what most people wanted. They wanted a new game. They want Diablo back to its glory days of Diablo 2. And this just didn't do that. So sorry I had to be kind of a downer this week, but I do think this is something important to talk about, because with how big hype culture is in our communities, our gaming communities, I think that it's important that people understand, and companies understand, how easy it is to do it really well and how easy it is to screw up. And it's a damn shame that more companies haven't caught on how to do it right. But even big companies like Blizzard, who do generally get it right, at least during BlizzCon, can still screw up in the end. I hope you're excited for Diablo 3's new stuff. I hope you're excited about all the other stuff they announced for the new stuff they've got coming for all these Blizzard games. I'm excited for the new Hearthstone expansion, at least. And I had a lot of fun watching that in the Hearthstone tournament over the weekend. And I look forward to seeing what's next for that game. Necromancer certainly not going to bring me back to Diablo. And honestly, I was kind of hoping for a Diablo 4 announcement, because I just didn't like Diablo 3 at all, even after they fixed everything. So anyway, I'm Novel Mike. That was my opinion. Have a great day, everyone. See ya. Hi, I'm Novel Mike, and thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed this, please like and leave a comment down below, and if you really liked it, please share it with your friends. If you would like to see more from me, check out the other videos on the screen right now, and if you would like to see more content from me in the future, click the subscribe button. Thanks. Bye.